right, ma'am, will you please step into the jury box? The witness box. Yes, ma'am. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
My name is Lunette Sampson. My first name spelled Lunnette. Last name Sampson.
Good morning, Ms. Sampson.
Good morning.
Let me provide you with introductory instructions. First of all, please sit back and relax.
Okay.
Second of all, please speak loudly. We have to hear you.
Okay.
And you should speak in a loud voice. You don't have to get right on top of the mic because then we'll get some distracting feedback.
Okay.
Thirdly, if you are asked to provide a yes or no answer to a question, answer yes or no rather than using slang, or which can be confusing. And lastly, please wait until you hear an entire question before you even start to answer it. Many of us think we know what the question calls for, so we start to interrupt. But it's important to wait for the whole question and then respond. Is all of that okay?
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Direct examination, Mr. Chernoff.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Ms. Sampson?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where do you live, ma'am?
I presently live in San Diego, California now, but I formerly lived in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And when did you live in Las Vegas?
I lived in Las Vegas from November 2002 until just October 1st of this year.
When you were in Vegas, did you experience any physical problem?
I experienced a lot of physical problems. Actually, I had 3 heart attacks while I was in Las Vegas.
When was the first one?
The first one was November 2008. Prior to that, I'd had a bout with congestive heart failure, and the second one was 2009, around February, and the third one was probably around April 2009. And I had several bouts with congestive heart failure even after.
And your heart attack in 2008, that was about 3 years ago?
Yes.
All right. Can you give us some insight as to how that occurred, where you were, what happened?
Actually, I was on the freeway when I had the heart attack, and when I got to my destination, they called 911, and I was taken to the hospital. Can't remember exactly which hospital. I think it was Sunrise Hospital. And I told them Dr. Murray was my cardiologist, and he was out of town, and he had a covering doctor who saw me at the hospital.
All right. Now, Dr. Murray, you're referring to Dr. Conrad Murray?
Yes.
The man sitting to my left here?
Yes.
All right.
Indicating the defendant, Dr. Murray.
You had been treated by Dr. Murray for some time prior to your heart attack, is that right?
Yes, because when I don't know what year it was, but probably about 1995, I'd had a heart attack. And so I'd been seeing cardiologists in San Diego. And when I got to Las Vegas, my primary care doctor Dr. Conrad Murray, referred me to him.
Okay. And he was treating you with medications?
He was treating me with medications. And periodically, I was having these bouts with congestive heart failure. And I would end up in the hospital, and he would treat me, and retest me, and basically he took care of me through those years.
All right. Well, let's go back. Let's go down. You had your first heart attack, you said, in 2008? Or,
in Vegas, yes.
And you mentioned a heart attack you had in 1995?
Yes, which is what actually brought me to having to be seen by any cardiologist.
Okay. All right. So I got confused there. All right. During the period of time that Dr. Murray was treating you, Ms. Sampson, did he perform any procedures on you?
He performed many procedures on me. He found out that I had blockages in my heart. He repaired that. And I also had peripheral artery disease, and he repaired the arteries in both of my legs.
These problems that you're having, are they related to some underlying illness that you have?
You might be able, I don't know if they're related to, I'm a diabetic, it could be related to that.
Well, let's talk about this heart attack that you had, and Dr. Murray was not in town.
Okay.
What year did you say that?
I'll overrule the objection.
What year did you say that was?
That was in 2008.
Okay.
And what actually happened was the doctor treated me at UMC Medical Center, and he gave me an angiogram to see if I had any blockages, and said that I was fine and that I had none, but I wasn't getting any better. And Dr. Murray, when he came back in town, of course, when I was released from the hospital, I did follow-up visits, and he said to me, he says, "This is not right." He says, "You're not getting better. If you're not getting better by the next time you come," he says, "I'm going to have to repeat the test." He says, "Because I don't like what I see." He said, "The pictures are not clear enough for me to determine what's going on in the back of your heart." So I didn't want to go through the testing, of course, so I tried to be better. And what actually happened is I ended up having a second heart attack in February.
All right.
And,
That's all right. The next question, please.
And then what happened after you had your second heart attack? Did you go see Dr. Murray?
Dr. Murray treated me, and he found out that I had at that time, 3 blockages in my heart. And he repaired 2 of them and made preparation to repair the other one at a later date. And he came, whatever hospital I was at, Dr. Murray came to that hospital, because it wasn't always the same hospital. And
It's all right. The question?
Ms. Sampson, do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray treats his patients with care and caution?
I'll be very honest with you. I have never had a doctor that was more caring. Never. And Dr. Murray is a very caring doctor. He is a very thorough doctor. I don't understand to this day how the other doctor missed what was wrong with me, but Dr. Murray found what was wrong. And he also looked in my legs, and no doctor mentioned that, and never looked there, and found out that I had an arterial disease in my legs.
Is Dr. Murray the type of, do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray is the type of person to just rush through things, rush through procedures?
No, Dr. Murray is not the type to rush through procedures. Anyone knows that. And please forgive me for laughing, but when we come, we know we're going to be there a while, because he's very careful to take care of his patients.
How about, do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray is greedy or money hungry, or does things just for money?
I know Dr. Murray's not greedy or money hungry. He's taking care of patients. First of all, I was not anyone that had any money, and he's taking care of patients pro bono. I know for a fact that he's helped people that haven't had any money, even to the point of helping them to get medication. I know. When I say medication, I mean if they didn't have money to pay for their prescriptions, he helped them get their prescriptions when they needed it. So he helps anyone that needs help.
Thank you, Ms. Sampson. Pass the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chernoff. This cross-examination, Mr. Walgren.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Ms. Sampson.
Good morning.
Ms. Sampson, who contacted you to first ask you to give information about your care from Dr. Murray?
I really don't know which one of the lawyers contacted me.
Do you remember Miranda?
Yes.
Okay. Miranda, I think it's Sevchik, something of that nature? I may be mispronouncing it, but...
I remember, yes, saying that I would agree to be, I believe so.
And you communicated with this woman via email, correct?
Right, yes. By
And she
email.
asked you to submit a testimonial? That was
She just asked for something brief. And I gave her something brief relative to how long I knew him and what he probably had done for me.
And you learned from Miranda that she worked for Media Masters.
Objection to relevance.
I'll overrule the objection.
She worked for Media Masters.
I didn't know who she worked for, so I didn't know anything about.
Well, didn't you email her at Miranda@MediaMastersOnline.net?
I couldn't swear to that.
Okay, it's possible.
It's possible, but I can't remember the email address.
And did you subsequently learn that Media Masters is a public relations firm that works for lawyers?
I didn't learn anything concerning that situation. I was just trying to be helpful.
All right. But you did send an email to her explaining what you've shared with us today?
Yes.
When did you learn that Dr. Murray was going to be or was the personal physician for Michael Jackson?
It was not during my personal care. The only thing I knew is that he told me he was going to take a one-year sabbatical and that he was going to London. He never once mentioned Mr. Jackson, ever.
So you received that letter, though, indicating he's taking a one-year sabbatical?
No, he told me personally. I was being seen by him at that time, and I was being seen regularly because I was going through some kind of conditioning process, and I was at the office regularly.
And he told you he's going to have to refer you to another doctor because
Yes.
he's closing his practice for a year?
Yes.
And you didn't ask him why he was closing his practice?
He said he was taking a sabbatical, so there wasn't any need to ask him. I did tell him that I was a little bit in despair because I didn't understand who was going to take care of me, and I just didn't trust my care to just anyone because of what had happened in the past.
Now, again, all of your care from Dr. Murray was involved problems with your heart, correct?
Yes.
And the medical procedures, you indicated they occurred at a hospital, and you specifically said one of them was Sunrise Hospital.
That's where I was treated first, yes.
And have you heard about a discipline letter that Dr. Murray received from Sunrise Hospital in which the hospital informed Dr. Murray that on December 24th, and the letter's dated January 23rd, 2006, alleging that on December 24th, a patient of Dr. Murray had a malfunctioned pulsation
Objection to
due...
the form of the question.
I'll sustain the objection. You can preface everything with "have you heard" and restart because of the dates.
Have you heard that Dr. Murray received a discipline letter in which a patient, they informed Dr. Murray a patient had had pulsation problems due to blood in a tubing alarm, that a call was placed to Dr. Murray at 11 o'clock a.m., another call was placed to his answering service at 11:05 a.m., that he did not return the call until 12:41 p.m., at which point Dr. Murray advised that the hospital call a different doctor.
Objection to the form of the
That
question.
All right. The objection is overruled. This is all in the context of "have you heard." You may continue.
And then at 1:07 p.m.,
It's a compound question.
Overruled.
the hospital informed Dr. Murray that another doctor was not available, that Dr. Murray then said, "We'll have a nurse call a different doctor," and that eventually Dr. Murray showed up at 1:56, approximately 3 hours after the initial call, and that in that letter they expressed the concern that there was a serious risk of blood clotting. Have you heard about that discipline letter from Sunrise Hospital?
No, why would I hear about that? Dr. Murray didn't treat me at Sunrise. It was his covering doctor treated me at Sunrise, I believe.
And let me ask you about that. The first doctor that treated you, you felt he made mistakes, correct?
I know he did.
Okay. And Dr. Murray was able to review all the medical records of that first doctor to find out exactly what had happened.
Yes.
Right? Because that first doctor maintained all those medical records and provided them to Conrad Murray, correct?
Yes, I was
Thank you.
supposed. Yes.
Ms. Sampson.
Mr. Walgren, thank you. This is redirect.
Yes,
Turn
please.
off.
Thank you, Judge. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Were you aware that the letter that Mr. Walgren is referring to deals with hospital rules and regulations? Were you aware of that? You just never heard anything about it, have you?
I never heard anything about a letter, and I've never been aware of any letter, and most patients are not.
That particular hospital has a rule that a doctor needs to call in an hour and 20 minutes. You weren't aware of that either,
No,
right?
I was not.
And you weren't aware that during that time that Dr. Murray was being covered by another physician. You didn't know about any of that stuff, right?
No,
Okay.
it didn't concern
And
me.
why would you, right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Turn off. Thank you. This recross, Mr. Walgren.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. May Ms. Sampson be excused, Mr. Chernoff?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Walgren? May Ms.
Yes,
Sampson?
please, Your Honor.
Ms. Sampson, thank you for your testimony. Don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witness until we finish the trial, and you may step down and leave. Thank you. Mr. Chernoff?
Dennis Hicks, Judge.